Palmer and Patsy Lockhart are accused of first-degree manslaughter in the death of their 9-year-old son, Jason. Jason Dean Lockhart died from a ruptured appendix last summer. He had not seen a doctor. The state claims that the Lockharts failed to provide the necessary medical care to keep Jason alive. The defendants are members of the Church of the Firstborn. They say their religion prohibits the use of doctors. The Lockhart's attorney is expected to argue his clients are innocent because both state and federal law allow the use of prayer to heal illness. The Lockharts say they prayed for their son to get well. The defendants are expected to take the stand in their own defense. A prosecution witness today testified that Mr. Lockhart told him, quote, he doesn't know if it was worth going to a doctor if his son's soul had to burn in hell. The state contends Jason died from a medically treatable ailment. He could have been expected to live if he had gotten that treatment. The 8-man, 4-woman jury is expected to hear the remaining evidence tomorrow. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in Enid.
The Oklahoma City Stockyards may not be the most glamorous place in the world, but what better place to make a blue jeans commercial? You won't be seeing the finished product on television. To view the Beaver blue jeans commercial, you'll have to travel to a Scandinavian movie theater. Veteran filmmaker Richard Stanley is the director, the man who calls all the shots, hoping to create the right mood on film.
Okay. Wide panorama.
Is he going to be walking toward
no, Scott's walking away from us along the gangway.
Stanley has worked with members of the Beatles and other popular singing groups on musical films. The small film crew has been shooting the commercial in various parts of Oklahoma for the past week. The filmmakers say when you think of blue jeans, you think of cowboys. And most of your true cowboys can still be found in places like the Stockyards. But the film's producer says it was really the people of Oklahoma that made him choose our state.
We love this state and all the help we got from you Oklahomans. We don't find the words how to thank. And with all that help, what we got, we couldn't plan that before we came to your state.
Making this commercial is cheap by most of today's standards, only a mere $20,000. Stanley and his crew hope that other European production companies will follow their example and realize there's more to the United States than just the East and West Coast when it comes to taking pictures. There's something better called Oklahoma, and that's why this group plans on coming back. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the Oklahoma City Stockyards.
$39.8 billion cubic feet of industrial load was shown as being lost in this particular test year. The loss in the industrial load is reflecting what has been happening in the economy. We have had large industries who have curtailed. In some cases, they have completely cut off their use of natural gas.
The litigation all began shortly after the Rock Island Railroad went bankrupt in 1975. The bankruptcy court in Chicago dismissed back ad valorem taxes the railroad owed on its Oklahoma property. The state countered that it wasn't the court's jurisdiction to dismiss those taxes. The Attorney General's office estimates the Rock owes nearly $4 million to 29 counties for taxes dating back to 1974. Many of the counties have said they would be happy to get any of the back tax money. But last week, attorneys for the Rock offered to pay 90% of the back taxes they owe and the 82 taxes in full.
The state of Oklahoma, through the Attorney General's office, filed a tax claim on behalf of the various counties to whom ad valorem taxes were owing. And we've been actively prosecuting that case since that time. And this offer is made subsequent to this litigation and pursuant to the litigation.
There are some legal questions on whether or not counties can accept the offer, but informally the Attorney General's office say they believe that under the circumstances, those questions can be worked out. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Each year, the Salvation Army bell ringers ring up holiday donations for needy families. Since the late 1800s, Salvation Army workers have stood outside shopping malls collecting donations from shoppers. Nationwide, donations are greatest this year in those areas hardest hit by the recession. In Oklahoma, the Christmas kettle contributions are up 16% from last year. Major Stephen Weaver says contributions have increased, but not as much as the number of people in need.
Here we're doing pretty fair. We're running ahead with the income, but yet we still have almost 25% more families to help this year. We'll be running from, we had 2,200 last year. It'll be about 2,600 this year that we'll be helping through our toy distribution.
Weaver says bell ringers like Brigadier George Clendenin will be collecting donations until Christmas Eve. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
Not all the sights and sounds or traditions of Christmas are joyous. This year, circumstances and the economy have made the lines at the Salvation Army grow. For some, this is the first year since the loss of a job or wage earner put them into the class of the new poor. The bitterness over the change may be fading, but the damaged pride of having to take handouts for their first Christmas is new. At the same time, there's a thankfulness and knowledge that Christmas could be colder this year without this help.
I have a lot of problems at Christmas mainly. When it's Christmas, it seems like the bills keep coming in and everything, and I just can't seem to make my ends meet or anything like that when it's Christmas time. Matter of fact, they've only got 2 things under the tree apiece, and that is it, and that's what their aunt and uncle had given them for Christmas, and that is all they would have had.
The toys are purchased with collections by Army bell ringers. The families get them for free. The Salvation Army says they will help over 3,100 families this year, up from 2,600 last year. They believe there are more who haven't come forward. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at the Salvation Army.
After the firefighters had fought the fire for 15 or 20 minutes, the fire seemed to mushroom and continue to involve the 3rd level of the house. There was fire throughout the attic and on the roof. At that time, the chief called for a second alarm, which brought about another half a dozen units to the scene for 2 reasons. Number one, the manpower, because the first 10 units were becoming fatigued. And secondly, there was some danger of the fire spreading to surrounding houses.
Oklahoma City motorists died at a record pace in 1982. So far, 125 people have lost their lives while traveling the city's 3,000 miles of road. It's a statistic the Oklahoma City Police Department is trying to deal with right now, during one of the peak driving periods of the year. And they're doing it by promoting courtesy. Safe driving awards being given out to motorists who are seen lending a helping hand or just being a good driver above and beyond the call. And police officials are counting on the program to be a winner.
Every time that we prevent an accident, we've done 2 things. We've saved us some work investigating it. Number 2, we've saved the other people involved all the heartbreak of being involved in an accident. And today it is heartbreak. Whether you're injured or not is not material, because even if you're right, you still all the inconvenience, the hassle, and the getting your car repaired and going through all the adjustments and so forth. So every time we prevent one, we've saved us work and we've saved the citizens some inconvenience in that area.
Well, I've had trouble on the road before and people help me out. The least I can do to help somebody else try to repay a little bit.
Besides thanks from the city, drivers awarded will receive $40 worth of each from an Oklahoma City restaurant. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Christmas fever was catching for the kids at the city rescue mission. The Joyful Noise Choir supplied the singing. A certain jolly man in a red suit supplied the presents.
Come on, but would you like to come? Oh, come on. Oh, I love little girls like that. That's great.
Santa dropped off the gifts for kids who live at the city's women's shelter. The shelter helps people temporarily down on their luck to get back on their feet. Santa's helpers donated the toys and refreshments, which put smiles on faces which otherwise wouldn't have had much to smile about this Christmas. 6 weeks ago, it looked like the shelter would have to shut its doors because it couldn't afford to heat the old building. Now the mission is back on firm footing. There's plenty of heat, supplied tonight by happy children who just had Christmas a few days early. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the City Rescue Mission.
Okay. Are you sick?
A ransom demand was received by his parents, and after a series of telephone calls beginning at 4 p.m. last evening, the ransom was delivered by a member of the family to an area near Southwest 5th and MacArthur. After an attempt was made to make off with the money, Hall was arrested in the vicinity. Diaz was subsequently arrested in northwest Oklahoma City.
The streets of downtown Oklahoma City were almost deserted today, but that doesn't mean something couldn't happen. So for Patrolman Mike Jones, this Friday was like any other Friday afternoon. As a police officer, Jones sees the different moods of Christmas.
It's a little bit different. I feel different at Christmas time, working. Some people you see real happy, and then you go to other people's houses and see some other people less fortunate than they are. It's kind of depressing, I guess.
Central Fire Station, O'Brien. No, sir, I'm sorry. He's off today. He'll be back in a couple of days. Okay, bye.
Things were slow at the Central Fire Station, but like police officers, they all just can't go home. A television soap opera doesn't come close to being with the family. However, it's something firefighters have come to accept.
Well, in this job, it's just part of it. You know, you work, you're subject to work any day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. So you can't really pick the days you want off.
How does it make you feel?
Well, you feel fine. You just get used to it. After 15 years, it's just part of life. Your whole family gets accustomed to it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, guys.
How are you? The families of doctors and nurses have come to accept it as well. Max Bowden is a patient on the oncology wing of Presbyterian Hospital. Bowden's doctor is Earl Elliott. Elliott said making rounds gives him a greater appreciation of Christmas with his family.
I feel lucky that I'll be home tonight to be with them, but my thoughts will be here with the patients.
I've worked on Christmas a lot, and it's a time you want to be home, but these people have their own problems, and sometimes you can help a little bit, make it a little easier for them to be away from home and away from their families, give them a feeling that somebody cares a little bit.
It would be nice if crime, destruction, sickness, even death would take a holiday. Then the policemen, firemen, doctors, nurses, even journalists could have the day off. but that probably won't happen, at least not anytime soon. Merry Christmas. Bill Ross, Action 4 at Presbyterian Hospital.
The magical spirit of Christmas, the happiness, can still be found here in these faces that reflect so much sadness and so many hard times. Yet on Christmas Day, they too have something to be thankful for. The Red Andrews Dinner. To these people, this is Christmas dinner with the family, a feast they probably wouldn't have been able to afford on their own. But money can't buy today's meal. It's a gift given in memory of Red Andrews to everyone.
All these people are all walks of life. I mean, you've got every kind of people imaginable in here. I don't care, meet people with money, people that are so down and out, it's not people out of jobs, people with a lot of kids, people with no kids, blacks, whites, green, every color imaginable. There's no difference. Have you noticed any difference? They all help. They all help each other, and I just figure maybe that's the way the whole darn world ought to be.
A world made of Santas, free holiday dinners, and people like Red Andrews and Betty Castle can only lead to happiness for those in need. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at the Red Andrews Dinner.
Oklahoma. And over the years, I've always remembered that he expressed the front handle empire was passed on to a lot of people, and I expressed my regret. And that we've had, personally that I know of, 4 fantastic years. And there is a time now that we're having a breather from that great growth. And if we can maintain the services and the level of appropriation at a high point, we are not at rock bottom. The tide is not out. We have made strides. I want to protect those strides that we have made.
By late morning, police were still taking toll of the damage from an overnight shootout with a Texas fugitive. Investigators say the man fired at least 14 rounds at officers before he was killed. The police had gone to the man's trailer to arrest him in an earlier incident. When they identified themselves, the man burst open the door and opened fire. He was killed in the exchange. Police spokesman Lucian Jones has identified the man as 33-year-old Danny Barrow, wanted on federal firearms charges and aggravated assault.
It was really miraculous that no police officers were killed with the volley of gunfire that erupted and the proximity that the officers were to the car that was just riddled with bullets.
Jones says the officers involved have been routinely relieved of field duty. The female companion of the dead man was also hurt in the wrist during the gun battle, but police don't know immediately who fired the shot that injured her. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4, at police headquarters.
It's a whole new ballgame this year for taxpayers with individual retirement accounts. Last year's IRAs were limited to a certain percentage of your income, and you could not deduct any money deposited after the first of the year on your previous year's tax returns. But all that's changed. This year, you can protect up to $2,000 a year tax-free if you are single, $2,225 a year if you are married with one income, and $4,000 a year if you are married and both you and your spouse are employed. These new regulations make it advantageous for just about anyone to have an IRA. According to one tax executive, it's still not too late to reap the benefits of these special accounts.
In the past, you could only deduct up to a certain percentage of your income with a $2,000 limit. That percentage rule is now gone by the wayside, and what we can do now is simply put in $2,000 per working spouse if you're filing a joint return, so you could get as much as a $4,000 tax deduction.
120.
Thank you. The new tax law works like this. If you've not already made the maximum deposit in your IRA account, you can wait till the first of the year to do it and still take it off this year's taxes. The way it works is that you have to make the deposit before you file your return. At the Commerce Bank, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Passengers piled into the Will Rogers World Airport in record numbers in 1982. December's figures aren't in yet, but the first 11 months show a jump of more than 17%. Keep in mind that's excluding the most traveled month of the year. The increase came as a surprise to airport officials. They assumed the nation's economy would have a bad effect on air travel. Now, as Tom Morton looks back on 82, he sees several reasons for the pickup in passengers.
I think the first factor would be the very healthy economy of this part of the country as compared to other parts of the country. I think another factor that would attribute it for the dramatic increases that we experienced in the first part of 1982 would be the business travel associated with the oil and gas industries. I think there's a third factor that we should consider, and that would be the commendable and aggressive efforts of the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce in promoting tourism and conventionism here in this part of the country.
The big business at Will Rogers is good for the city as well as for the airport. More travelers means more outside dollars coming into Oklahoma City and further expansion for the airport terminal. Boarding gates are being added to the two major concourses. This ticket counter area, as well as the baggage pickup area, will be extended 100 feet. All this construction is courtesy of 1982's increase in passengers. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at the Will Rogers World Airport.
That I will not knowingly receive performance
or non-performance.
Best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
As Sheriff of Oklahoma County.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
And the village.
Congratulations.
Fire investigators have not officially determined the cause of the fire, but it was probably started by an open face heater. The mother of the three children, 23-year-old Diane Cherry, tried unsuccessfully with a neighbor to pull the children from the flaming structure, but to no avail. Fire officials say a trailer burns quickly, and at this remote location, they could not get there fast enough. Killed in the fire were two girls, ages 5 and 2, Tiffany and Rico Cherry, and their 4-year-old brother, Shante. It may be sometime Tuesday before fire officials say for sure what caused the tragic blaze just east of Spencer. Bellishaw, Action 4 in far northeastern Oklahoma City. Luciano Pavarotti feels his voice was given to him to share with the world, and he will be sharing it with 3,200 people at the Civic Center Music Hall Friday night. Pavarotti loves his fans, and so when personal friends in Oklahoma City invited him for a gala performance, he consented and will fly all the way from Modena, Italy to be here. He will be accompanied by pianist John Wusterman, and as it stands now, 80 tickets are left at $350 apiece. But some people were worried about Oklahoma City's image. They felt the Civic Center's dressing rooms were too shabby. They collected money, and now workers are feverishly trying to get his room ready by Friday.
We just sat down and said, let's redo the room. And from there we proceeded to literally tear out the room and reconstruct it, literally.
Is it going to be ready by Friday night?
It will be ready. You have my word.
For a classical artist, for the tickets to be gone in 5 hours was really kind of incredible. We got to work at 7:30 in the morning, and people were lined up for about a block in the building trying to get the tickets.
With the concert 3 days away, the city wants to make sure everything's in place. Today, workmen pieced together the set. It was slow, hard work. Pavarotti's recital will last an hour and 20 minutes. Hardly enough time for his fans, who are mesmerized by his beautiful voice. Bellishaw, Action 4.
Oklahoma City employees may be due for an unexpected refund from the federal government, as well as the city itself. It seems the city had paid into the Social Security program from employees' sick pay money, and it matched that amount. But this was not required until January of 1982. It's estimated $600,000 was overpaid to the Social Security system by employees and the city, and that's just how much may have to be refunded, even though the Social Security system is having its share of financial problems.
No, I think this is a cut and dried thing. If you're overpaid your taxes, whether it's Social Security or income tax or whatever, and you're entitled to refund, the facts are very, go for themselves. And the Social Security system is in trouble. There's no question about that. But if you have a refund coming that is provided for under the law, there's no problem in getting that money back at all.
The criteria for receiving the Social Security refund are 1, show the city did have a sick pay plan for employees, and 2, be able to show it was a working plan before the law changed last year. The refund figures are for 3 years of withholdings. Oklahoma City can seek refunds for as many past years as it wants, but only if the city agrees to be audited. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
An Oklahoma City viewer writes in and says, what is the law concerning common law marriages? I've been living with a man for 2 years and he refers to me as his wife. Am I legally his wife? In Oklahoma, a man and woman are common law married if they meet all 4 of the following conditions. Both are not presently married to anyone else. They are living together. Both have the intention of presently being married to each other. And they're holding themselves out to the public as husband and wife. A common misconception is that a man and woman must live together for a certain length of time before they become common law husband and wife. If you meet all 4 of the requirements, you are legally married to the man with whom you are living, regardless of how long you've been living with him. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs. A viewer says, what is the law concerning the name change in a common law marriage? Well, if a man and woman are legally married by common law in Oklahoma, the woman has an option of keeping her maiden name or changing her last name to that of her husband. There is no requirement that she change her name to her husband's last name if she is common law married in Oklahoma, just as there is no requirement that she change her last name to her husband's if she is ceremonially married to him in Oklahoma. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.